Morning, everyone. How you guys doing? First off, I'd like to start with the question: how many of you guys had sushi before?
Oh yeah.
Woo! How did you eat that?
Chopsticks.
All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, we're going to go over the reciprocal style, or how to teach it. So first off, we're going to start with the anatomy of the reciprocal style. So the point of the reciprocal style is that the doer is more active and the observer is more active. So decisions are switched from the teacher to the learners, and they have more roles, basically. The point of that is so that the increase in speed between feedback of the observer and the learner is faster, so then they are able to learn correctly. So we're going to talk about the reciprocal triad. So the doer and the observer communicate to each other, and the observer only communicates to the teacher. So on your paper, we have a learner with the doer and a learner with the observer. What I'd like you to do is, with a pen, is make a double facing arrow between those two. Okay, and that arrow symbolizes that they communicate to each other. Then I want you to make an arrow from the observer to the teacher. And that arrow symbolizes that the observer talks to the teacher. So the teacher doesn't talk to the doer at all during this style.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is have you guys partner up, and one of you is going to be the doer and the other one's going to be the observer. And like Enzo just said, the observer and teacher are going to be communicating. We're going to pass out a sheet that has written instructions as well as pictures. And what the observer is going to do is give the doer the immediate as well as constant feedback throughout like the learning process with the chopsticks. And then when you're done with the allotted time of practice, you guys will just change roles. And then with that change of roles, then the new observer can communicate with the teacher if the new doer is having difficulties with the chopsticks or whatever.
So some of the decisions made in the reciprocal style is for the pre-impact set, the teachers, or us four, for example, make all the decisions prior to the classroom. So before coming in here, we made all these sheets and designed our lesson plan to teach all of you guys how to do this stuff. Therefore, afterwards in the impact set, the doer is making all the decisions. So after we made all our decisions pre-class, we're giving you guys the tools to teach each other. So that is the impact set. In the post-impact set, the observer, which is your partner, is going to give you guys feedback based off of the sheets we handed out and tell each other whether we're doing it properly, improperly, and how we can improve in feedback, giving criteria and evaluating performance.
So there's a couple of reasons to use this style. One of them is that the person who's learning gets immediate feedback all the time from their partner, as opposed to having to wait for there's just one teacher and there's 20 people in the class. You're only getting attention 1/20th of the time, where this way you're getting it all the time. And you get a more active role in the learning process because you're either teaching or you're being taught at all times and then switching, and you can learn from trying to teach the style. This style lets learners get more practice while having a bit of a teacher presence, in that they have their observer as something between the doer and the teacher, and they learn to trust each other and learn how to give feedback on a task that they might not be proficient in, but with the criteria sheet you can learn to give feedback on something.
Alright, so as we pass out this criteria sheet and these chopsticks, I would like you guys to pair up.
Oh, these are sick. You did. Oh, come on.
Gains
That's so
over.
hard.
It's gains over. All your
No, that's the right.
Can we go for more?
You don't get these anyway.
Alright, so during this time, you're gonna be in your pairs and choose one of you as a learner and one as the observer, and you're only talking to each other, and try to, as the observer, try to answer as many of the learner's questions as you can before coming to one of us, and you can just raise your hand and we'll come to you if you need teacher assistance, and we'll let you know when you can switch roles and practice being the observer if you were the learner before, or vice versa. Go ahead, trying to pick up evidence.
So I'm gonna read the direction. Practice picking up and then 10 times. Receive feedback from the observer.
Are we supposed to read this test for try it? Or are we supposed to try it? You're supposed to look into
So it's two stabilized.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
Nice try.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm doing. I grew up.
Okay, let's do the
Especially when they use metal.
Chopstick,
Sorry, Jared.
Wow, really good job. That's what, 3?
Thanks, teacher. Did you get that? That was nice.
Alright, how many times did you pay for it? No, it's 10. So, or you can give me like 3. Nice.
How you doing?
Wow, look at this.
Yeah, I think I need more practice.
Wow.
There you go.
That's chopsticks.
Well, I didn't get that.
We switch. You have to eat every single one I pick up. That's my problem. Everyone's gonna do this.
Alright, guys.
Balancing the bottom one.
Okay. I want to make sure it's just like.
For those of you who are already the observers, now switch roles. So observer is now the doer, the doer is now the observer.
Alright, I'll just know. That's not how you do it. Oh my goodness. It's one of the chopsticks between your thumb and your wrist. No, double up. Dude,
Dude, that's what like I do.
So this bottom chopstick.
So you know how you're supposed to do like this? I think it's gonna serve as a stabilizer, okay? Is that stable?
That's where I got too.
Okay, that's just wrong.
No, yours is.
I just mine is like the heart. I have this like heavy
Just the top of the throw into for easy.
Oh, it's pretty sure.
Nice try.
There you go. Now pick up that as possible. There you go. Now, you're try to grab two.
Yeah.
There you go.
That wasn't my fingertip. That was close.
See, my hands are shaking now because
You're not good at
everyone's standing here.
So bad. I can't, like, teach all.
The angle of
Yeah,
how you're approaching it.
I don't think these are real chopsticks, so it's hard, but if they're real ones, you're doing it.
Fake chopsticks.
Basically, this one's
I really need chopsticks.
Come on, Ugly. I'm crying.
Get ready down a little bit.
Brad, can you show us?
I'm so challenged.
Yeah, so you're.
Oh my gosh.
That's close.
Let's go.
That's double.
Hey, Rexon, can you pick like gummy worms or something?
Yeah, I'm just
I got more than you.
That's hard.
wow.
It's hard to, yeah, it's gotta be like, yeah.
Break into reserve.
Yeah, we can do pop so you can that way. That boy over here, aka me, get on the M&M's. Dude, M&M's are so game. Yeah, we need some more protein over here.
M&M's are back home.
Bring out the gummy worms.
Really only I get.
Pick up the M&M. It says.
I've done well.
Just keep the bottom one steady. It helps with control. That's it.
No, if you can pick up two at the same time, it'd be great.
You're going to.
Yeah, I can't pick up heavy things, or if I'm like trying to do something.
Really go before I steal.
Yeah, like with chopsticks.
Wait.
If we're both
You want to go?
You can't use your left hand on the only one.
I always just go across.
I'm the only
Yeah,
one.
like.
Yeah, it's getting like all the way up here.
The other one won't touch. You're swiping your fingers on me? Oh my god.
How about you?
This one's like way off. It's like,
Doesn't matter how I get Are you leaving? I like fourth.
Make sure your chopsticks are easy to do. And also make sure the bottom is steady. You sound good.
So I can't talk to you. This figure like
yeah, I kind of like it's like my goal.
It's still like effective, like you could put this,
mission accomplished.
but like, at least like my looks kind of like.
Dude, hold on. My hand break. I'm grabbing you. Hold on. Hold on.
I don't know why I always know fingers. That's how I lost it all.
Keep the rock, keep the rust.
Just get it out of the
Why should we come up? Chopsticks?
Yeah, just like.
That counts.
Oh, here we go. That's my feeling.
That's looking good. Yeah, 10 seconds.
Double.
Two.
Uh,
You got one.
That was sick.
All right, guys, we're gonna bring it back up front. Do we have any questions about the style before we bring our presentation to a close?
All right, well,
So is there feedback at the end from the teacher to the doer or observer, or is it just kind of concluded? You're out of there.
It's, teacher feedback pretty much comes in when the observer isn't able to communicate enough with the doer and needs another step of feedback, but the idea is that the observer is doing the teaching as much as possible.
Alright, well, just, again, for the purpose of using chopsticks, I know it's very difficult to pick up M&Ms. That was the point. Because now when you try and do something that's a little bit easier, it's going to be very simple for you guys. And you guys can eat M&Ms if you like. And if you want to keep the chopsticks, you can. There's like one pair between the two of you, so watch out for that. The purpose of this dynamic, the purpose of this dynamic is for the observer and the doer to have constant feedback to each other and be able to have like a one-on-one conversation. Whereas the teacher, if it was just this big class, like Nick was talking about earlier, or I was talking about, that you're not able to like talk to every single one of you at one time. So you might be like stuck on this further step or whatnot. So the point of the, yes? Okay. And then the point of the observer is to get out one-on-one feedback so they can continue learning the entire time with correct steps and continue further. And it's the point of ongoing feedback. Good question?
Yes. I was going to ask, for the observer, do they usually have some sort of criteria to go off of, or like, do they have prior experience maybe, as in the teacher picks the most, I guess, experienced people to be the observers, or is it usually kind of how we were with?
It's kind of how you guys are. So you have, you switch between the two pairs. Sometimes on the criteria sheet, there'll be like a guideline of where you can go, and that's kind of what we did with the pictures and tips and other problems, stuff like that. But it's more the observer, like watching them and observing them, if you will, and trying to correct them as they go along. Yes.
What is the case if either learners don't know? They're both equally not knowledgeable about the subject matter.
That's where the teacher steps in. So the observer will contact the teacher, and the teacher will step into that situation and help. Okay. Good question.
What if both the observer and the learner, they both are very experienced at the task? Could the teacher then step in and make it more difficult for them, or just let them kind of mess around for that time?
As long as they have completed the criteria sheet, I don't see a problem with that. But they could step out, but they like between two pairs. But it's the idea is that you have the groups to learn within each other, and so if one group is ahead, it won't affect a different group because they'll still get ongoing feedback and learn from that. Yes.
How do you get this bottom chopstick to like stay there and not move around? That's what I care about.
Well, I was just say you gotta
You squeeze it between your thumb?
Your thumb and your, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of going off what Noah said about if both the doer and the observer are really good at the task, can they at one point become a teacher to the other observers and doers? Like, can they go around being teachers?
I think in certain tasks, we might be able to break off into bigger groups and maybe do 2 doers and 2 observers in that case, so that you can help other students. Ideally, we would just make you in 2 different pairs, maybe with somebody who's less experienced, and one be more experienced.
In a situation like that, if both of them are very experienced, they're doing it, since you're putting the lesson into the observer's hands, are they allowed to kind of progress in a way that would make it difficult for the doer? Like, can they take it into their own hands and go a little further than what you've given them, or?
I don't know if I understand.
Alright, forget it.
I mean, if you, like, for our example, we're using chopsticks
Yeah.
that both are really good, and the observer wants to say, all right, pick up 2 M&Ms at once, like,
Yeah.
go to challenge mode, you know, that seems fine.
Okay, cool.
If you've got time set aside to work on an activity and you already know the skill, doesn't seem like an issue to make it harder within a group.
Is there any more questions?